Carr is not planning to have a large spaceship ready for flight for at least a year. It is quite possible that he could make a trip to the moon and be permitted to land there. Inasmuch as he would be testing his own ship, the trip would have no military significance, and he is entirely in accord with the program set up by the space people. Also, by the time he has a ship of sufficient size ready for a voyage into outer space, it might be possible for him to make that trip too, especially if one or more space persons would agree to accompany him. But these conjectures are entirely unique and apply only to Carr. What he can or cannot accomplish has nothing to do with the attitude of governments, which first refused to admit the possibility of spaceships from other planets, and then refused to try out a local model. Supposing it is not entirely successful on the trial run, it certainly could not be less successful than many of the rockets and satellites which the government is attempting to launch at the expense of the taxpayers. Furthermore, a rocket leads but to destruction. A spaceship leads to the freedom of the cosmic lightways, and opens a vast new universe to the wonderment of man. Since Carr's free energy devices are designed to power anything from a hearing aid to a spaceship, it is clear why his advertising is refused by daily newspapers, and why the government refuses to even try a Carr spaceship on the national budget, just for size, at least. Carr's free energy motors will power automobiles, for one thing, a development which would do away with the need for gasoline, and as an added advantage do away with smelly exhaust fumes. For years, geologists and scientists have been bemoaning the fact that our natural fuels, such as petroleum, will soon be exhausted. They have painted grim word pictures of a shivering, stranded populace hovering over a meager fire of sticks and twigs, and just about to perish for lack of fuel. Yet when Otis T. Carr announces free energy motors, the newspapers hasten to keep the whole thing hush-hush, lest the people find out that they will not have to shiver after all. There is still another reason why the silence group operating through black disciples in the military and commercial business arenas has decreed that Carr's inventions should be played down. Carr is obviously working on behalf of the forces of light, and he is probably the first man in history who has had the courage to incorporate that theme in his paid newspaper advertising. He is irrevocably against mistreatment of the atom, for well he knows that an atom is God's handiwork and a tiny pulsing life. In the advertisement he states that his machines are natural machines, that they produce unlimited energy without fission, without fusion, and without violence of any kind. They do not smash the atom, they do not split the atom, they do not blast the atom. He reminds his readers that his machines are profoundly simple devices that collect and direct the free and boundless energies of the sun, in the same way the sun's energies cause the earth to spin and the rivers to flow, the bread to rise and the plants to grow, and the great ocean tides to rise and fall. He states that the accumulator uses the sun's force of electromagnetism by means of natural reproductive chemistry, and that the motor is powered entirely by the sun's immutable pressure energy known as gravity. He sums up not only his method but his philosophy as follows: the energy is atomic, the light from the sun, the pull of gravity, the fission of uranium, the fusion of hydrogen, all that moves or grows or glows everywhere on the earth and throughout the universe. It is all atomic energy. Its ultronic presence is everywhere, being even nature itself, and held in plain view for all the time we know it has yet remained nature's closest secret. Oh, how to borrow of this energy from nature has been quite a problem. When you fight nature, nature always fights back. If we try to share nature's energy by injuring nature, we will only injure ourselves accordingly. Try to change the weather in one place and you get storms or floods or drought in another. Crack or split the atom and you get frightful devastation or poisonous radiation. And while you may blast a dog or a man away into space, you will never safely blast him back again. We know the laws of nature do not change, so why waste the effort and take the terrible risk. There is only one right way. The right way is the peaceful way, and we have found the way. Carr's architectural plans for a Space Research Institute to be located at Space, Maryland have been drawn up, and preliminary construction activities are underway on a beautiful plot of land of about 70 acres outside Baltimore. The new post office will be called Space. Space Research Institute is expected to become the world center for activities connected with spaceships, interplanetary travel, interplanetary communication, and a better way of life through the utilization of natural solar energy devices. The group of buildings incorporate new design motifs which should make them outstanding in architectural beauty. The plan calls for a huge domed auditorium. The interior of the dome will be decorated by Salvador Dali, who is currently preparing a huge mural masterpiece to be enshrined there. The subject is the prophetic story of Ezekiel's vision, approached from the space-time cosmology. A total space concept is portrayed by 4 guardian cherubim, and over all hovers a portrait of the white dove of Shambhala, Tesla's Earth companion. Although Space Research Institute will serve as headquarters for the Otis T. Carr Enterprises, he does not plan to mass manufacture any of his devices. The Institute, as its name implies, is strictly for research. There the group will design prototypes of machines, which will then be turned over to other manufacturers to be produced in quantity. Mr. Carr has behind him the long history of Tesla's frustrated attempts to make the world a more comfortable place in which to live, and to give humanity countless hours of leisure time for study and evolutionary advancement. Therefore, his primary interest is not in becoming a manufacturer himself, but in the opportunity of all industry the world over to share in the ownership and distribution of products patterned after the basic prototypes. Since Carr is a disciple of Tesla, and since Tesla refused to participate in the conniving, competitive commercial manipulations of his day, businessmen everywhere are eager to know how Carr, faced with problems almost identical to those of Tesla, plans to surmount the many obstacles which are certain to be placed in his way by the forces of darkness. The answer seems to be contained within the utilitarian functions of the inventions themselves. Once the public knows that the devices will provide a better way of life, it is up to the public to demand that the inventions be made available. The Otis T. Carr circular foil spacecraft looks and operates like a flying saucer. The first experimental models will be anywhere from 40 to 100 feet in diameter and will cost millions of dollars, as do first prototypes of any aircraft. However, one small model, 10 feet in diameter, will be constructed for our special test purposes in actual usage. Unlike conventional aircraft, the large space vehicles will soon be brought down to family size of about 10 feet in diameter. They can be built to sell for less than the cost of a modern automobile, and are designed to take a family across town, across the nation, or around the world in absolute comfort and safety, and in a fraction of the time ever before possible. Carr expects to be ready during 1959 to start licensing manufacturers all over the world to mass produce the OTC space vehicles in many sizes and styles for every transportation need. It is Mr. Carr's sincere opinion that the introduction, manufacture, and use of the free energy devices will bring more prosperity to more people in the United States and around the globe than any single invention in the entire history of the world. He realizes that most of the world's problems today have their roots in hunger for more energy than is available. States and nations are already fighting over what is left of ordinary fuels and the available supplies of water to make electricity and irrigate the land, states Mr. Carr. We have had many recent examples of our delicate balance of supply and demand, even in this great country. We've seen the rationing of gasoline and oil. We've seen the lights go dim in the Pacific Northwest.